What's up guys, it's Talon here, and in today's video we're going to be taking a look at how you can improve your W keying as well as placing higher in solo cash cups by analyzing one of EU's top all-time pros, Mr. Savage, and how he ended up dominating the solo cash cup, winning it with ease. But before I get into this VOD review guys, if you do enjoy my content or find what I'm telling you helpful, please drop a like on this video, hit that subscribe button, and turn on post notifications. Also, I recently just got my supporter creator code. If you would like to support me in that way, use code Talon.fn in the Fortnite item shop. But without further ado, let's just jump right in. Alright guys, as you can see on the screen, we have Mr. Savage's POV. He is landing near Retail Row. I believe he got it unconned. We're in game number 1. This is going to be a long VOD review, so stay tight. This video is over 28 minutes long, and there's a lot of stuff to go over, including rotations and meta and all that stuff. Since EU was the only one able to play the Cash Cup, there was a bug for NA West and NA East, so this is a good learning opportunity. Game 1, we're landing here over by Retail, like I said. He's slowly pushing. He has a good amount of mats. Harpoon is going to be key for solos this season, and you're going to see constant use throughout. Attempting to break down, but not really committing to it. Notice not wasting a ton of mats to build. Good attempt at a pre-fire. Really great job kind of edit coursing them, trusting his mechanical skill. Doesn't get that. And like I said, the Harpoon can be so good, so versatile for so many reasons. Finally, full boxes him. Doesn't get that. Attempt right there. He's fighting makeshift, so he should be really confident. Creating an escape route right there. When you jump on someone's wall, incredibly important. This first fight is a little bit drawn off, but it's okay. He hasn't got third party yet. I'm telling you, all of these games are going to be stacked. Uses the third party as an advantage, and GG's ends the fight. All of these games are going to have Surge. And this was due to the fact that Champs was only basically available to get in for a week, and so not everyone is eligible. Stinkfish are an excellent way to get pre-fight damage and force reboxes. Beautiful right-hand peek, but misses the shot, unfortunately. I talked about this in my tips and tricks for Arena, that you want to be using Stinkfish pretty much to force reboxes and get nice little white damage, because not everyone's going to have whites. Notice how these two fights haven't been incredibly clean, and this is just speaks to the quality. And this right here is the importance of having an escape route. Let's just take a look. So what does he do here that works so well right here? That allows him to end that fight incredibly fast after it kind of drawing on for a little bit. He knows he's fighting RPG. Notice he's not really, he's just playing from a box, playing defensive. We've seen him really not play super aggressive. He's been very patient, so he's going to get his wall taken here quickly, and he's going to drop. After, I believe, once he hops on this wall, this is a little bit scuffed on it. He tries to make an edit, doesn't get there. The opponent actually takes the wall right there because he wasn't holding. He drops down, but he immediately creates an escape route, cracks, and the opponent's now in full piece control, missing all of his shots. Fortunate like that. Gets that cone. The opponent tries to build a ramp, but it doesn't end up working, and he just basically capitalizes on an opponent being over-aggressive and having an escape route. EUs are masterful at having escape routes when they look for their peaks. Really is important. Not much to say right there, using kind of the Bugha Classic. This season reminds me of Chapter 2 Season 1. It's very flopper, RPG, no mobility type season. He gets a crack with RPG there, but then he reboxes down here because he hears his opponent breaking his old builds. Notice building every wall too, being very cautious. Look how stacked it is, 36. Like I said, every single game is going to have Surge here. I don't expect this to be how the Cash Cups are constantly. And then he decides to get away from that opponent. He cracks this one, so then he just refocuses. This is a great example of not getting tunnel vision. He's doing a good job of tracking this opponent, staying protected. Notice how he's always has builds around him. This other opponent's trying to run away the best he can. He cones him there, right there, cone slide, and gets the finish. A very important impact he's going to get. There you go, getting metal and brick materials. Now, this is something that's recently been added to the game due to Easter. It's these hop eggs. They're actually very good for rotation, and I hope that they stay in the game. For one, because there's only really peppers for rotation, so having another movement item is great, in my opinion. Like I said, Storm Surge is going to be a part of all of these games, but the hop eggs are wonderful for a lot of reasons. You could jump through, and you bounce. It can be kind of bad in mid-game to use, but look how far he gets to front side. He doesn't even need to really worry about anything. Jumping can be a little bit awkward. Servers are also going to be incredibly laggy because all the games are going to be under strain. He gets in, look at the mats. He really only used about 300 mats on a pretty much a max pull. Really good stuff. Good recognition right here. Gets the fry. And going from underneath is something I saw quite frequently in this VOD review that you're going to see, is that going through underneath to finish fights is so good. He gets a nice little pick. That opponent didn't have a ton of mats. Takes the hop egg. And that's where jumping can be a little bit awkward with it. I still think peppers are better. But he's going to make a hype play because he's jumping like crazy. He gets up ahead. And he has RPG, right? So that's his win condition. We kind of fast through until Night Zone, unfortunately. But he looks like he stays on high ground pretty uncontested here. For the most part, he used his last RPG, made sure that he basically got a crack with it. It's really, really efficient stuff for Mr. Savage. And that's just understanding meta. Using the movement items that you do have. Like, if eggs are continually a part of the competitive meta, you need to be having them for rotation. It's especially if you don't have Harpoon, you're going to have to really focus on getting ahead and getting picks. Harpoons kind of are just so versatile, and they're honestly meta for solos this season, just with the fact that you're only going to have 555. I was a little bit surprised he didn't go for those materials right there. I think there was, I think that there was maybe some meat he could get his HP back up, but no sure doesn't decide to go for it. He is in a 1v1. No mats though, actually one build. You're going to see him just patiently wait till this runs out. He kind of lets it go to a ninth, half and half. He has no idea if his opponent has heals. So what he's going to eventually do, he's going to get just a tad bit of materials. And this opponent on low ground is actually going to be weaker than he is. He's going to jump out to the side, gets a nice little 30 tag, no shield. Game 1, 36 points. We go into an end game, and look, like I said, 40 people in half and half, and then first moving, there's going to be 40 people. So, like I said, these games are incredibly stacked. Not the best on mats either, only having around 600. Actually 700, excuse me. He's going to rotate up to this dead side though. Look, now I just want to talk about, look where he wants to go, right? This is going to be dead side because one, all those people are going to have to funnel, but again, always hugging a side where Storm is, it's going to save you so many materials. See that opponent using a Harpoon. A nice little crack right there. Covering his back. And with those couple tags right there, he's above for Surge. You're going to see a lot of conserve tarping as well. He's not really rushing anything. He's letting opponents kind of build for him. These trees are going to be very, very beneficial for his rotation. He's just going to get in. Kind of recycling tarps is also a huge part of solos in this particular meta. Because everything is so congested, he's actually getting a free rotate with these people all essentially building for him. Using very minimal mats. Mitra Classics in. Tries to get it in right there. He does, but isn't able to finish what he started. Good attempt. Only 14 builds, though. Creates one full box with his remaining mats. He gets a nice little free pickup on someone who died of Storm, but you see from moving we went from 40 to 20. So important that you get from that first moving. Now this is incredibly scuffed. You're going to see him just get a nice little pickup right there on technique. Drops down. He got like 500-ish mats. Meat is like also healing items. Like I said, this is kind of like a flopper meta. And immediately go into that dead side of zone. Hugging that Storm tightly. He gets up from this particular opponent. He's on a nice clean lair. It's 15 builds remaining. Unfortunately getting pressured from a high ground. Gets a nice crack on this particular opponent. He's going to try to get in, but I believe he's going to be unsuccessful. He could have maybe tried to place a cone there, but he's going to get dropped down here onto the low ground. Misses his shot, and it's a GG. But I apologize, guys. There was an ad, but we saw that top 10 performance using almost all of his materials. And look at this here. Again, we're going into catty corner 46 and half right now. This is really smart. Why? He knows that more than likely someone's going to funnel in here, and that's exactly what's going to end up happening, and it's going to allow him to get a huge pickup. But because of where he's at, he's on a more dead side. Everyone's going to be kind of come this way. He gets this huge pick here, immediately covering all bases. Gets it right there, spray through, and huge finish. He gets bigs, all sorts of stuff. Nice mats. Look at his mats now. His opponent's pressuring him. It's okay. He's not particularly worried. Just stays calm. Goes back to old portions of his builds. Because he's on such a dead side, he doesn't even have to worry about getting healed. He ends up playing this low ground level. He knows he has a good amount of mats. Getting keyed. Fantastic. What did I talk about earlier, the escape route? The exact same thing. Always having an escape route when people over-aggress on you. This is the second particular engagement where you see an opponent just get in wildly, and Mr. Savage escape and turn the fight on its head. So this opponent is playing incredibly aggressive on low ground, probably needs a pick, either needs surge, whatever the opponent is looking for. This is honestly a kind of scuff lair. That's why playing this ultimate ground is very awkward. Especially if you're not a good box fighter, the opponent's actually going to do a good job of just getting right in. He just kind of exploits in, but he over-aggresses. Good crosshair placement, 145, and then he's going to spray through. The opponent literally has nothing, and even through the spray through, he gets the finish. And that's all through the escape route. Is immediately, once the opponent gets in, he has an escape route, creates it to where he's at advantage, and that's just confidence in knowing where exactly you need to go in sticky situations, and that's exactly what ended up happening. So like I said, 40 and first moving. Incredibly stacked games. He's going to be all against really high caliber players. He's using all this extra wood to kind of build out and give him some space. He now got a harpoon off of that elimination as well. Nice little dead side rotate. Getting far right as possible. And because of those two eliminations, he's now 330 above surge. He gets on a nice clean lair, and now he's solo tarping on that dead side. He goes back into his old builds that are more built right there, right? It's not just stuff that's just been built. The stuff that's been building while as he's rotated ahead. And this is going to allow him to get heals off pretty cleanly. See him solo tarping. He has a lot of space. He's going to continue to want to go right. Solo tarping is going to be huge in this meta with no mobility. The opponent's right there. I actually didn't know that. I thought he was underneath as well. But smartly gets a nice little free pickup. Look at that. Still 600 mats to play with. Using the harpoon. Now you're going to see him drop to low here. Which is when you're playing for placement, low ground is your best friend if you stay ahead. Because usually this is really smart. Like I said, the harpoon is going to be so versatile throughout this. So important to get impacts, especially in solos. He is going to make this work with the cone that he places first. So let's just talk through. So once, like we said, low ground is going to be your best friend if you stay ahead, especially when there's a bunch of old builds to go through. He switches up. He sees his opponent. He places the cone first and notices his opponent's all on the floor. He cracks. He makes sure to place the floor so the opponent is 100% trapped. Right hand peek. Nothing Eric can do. That is a GG's right there. That's smart. So smart. And like I said, harpoon, most versatile and most important item in solos this season, in my opinion. You can do so much for you. It can get you through builds and get you refreshes. Beautiful. Another use of the harpoon, right? Gets out, creates a escape route. What is that opponent supposed to do? And that's all created from the harpoon. It's so good for impacts. It's good for picking up loot. It's fantastic. Again, harpoon making that incredibly difficult. But with 400 or 500-ish mats, he's actually not going to leave it. This area is super scuffed besides of the tree. Look, it's all in his LOS, so he decides to just leave it. Opponent actually cracks him right here, but doesn't psycho in. He's at another top 10. all of his impacts allowed him to have this many mats going into 8th, I believe. He's sitting here waiting back, looking for a pick opportunity. He hears him right here, and look at this, what he's going to pick up on. This angle is insane. That opponent has no line of sight on him. And look at all the mats he's going to get from that. Nice. He's going to have 300 more mats going into 9th. And he's going to get floppers. He's going to find this old tarp right here. It's going to be very beneficial for him. But because of the stacked nature of all these... He's getting sprayed out. Accidentally harpoons that guy. It looks like that was just a 50-50 from a elimination in terms of materials. He actually gets a lot. And this is why harpoon is so crucial. This season. Look at all the mats he just got because of the harpoon. This entire game is won from him. If he has a harpoon, he doesn't get half of those picks. He doesn't get all those mats right there. Good drop down recognition. Now he's able to use all of the mats here. He gets sprayed out a ton. There is 2 players remaining. But imagine if he doesn't have the harpoon. He's not able to get access to all these wood materials and keep on going and protect himself. Beautiful right-hand peek right here. Good recognition. Opponent misses the RPG and actually ends up RPGing himself. He gets more of a refresh of wood. And then he's going to use that said RPG to drop this opponent. He's going to get up. He has 1 flopper. Never running out of materials. He's going to make sure use whatever remaining mats to get that flopper off. And the opponent runs out of materials and dies to fall damage. Yes, you are, Mr. Savage. Game. He only plans on playing 7 matches with how well he plays. So gets a better drop laning at Keanu Reeves, John Wick's house. Pickaxe baits. I don't think he doesn't realize that Eric again dies still. GG's. I don't think he realized that he didn't have a gun. So pickaxe baits there smartly. And that's just playing cautious. He even assumed he didn't have a gun. He assumed he had a gun. But he ended up not having one. Ooh, big beautiful crack. Look how laggy these servers are. He's gonna get a nice little spray through. Gets it. And that's Skulla. He actually placed 5th in the tournament. That's just unfortunate. Servers of that laggy. Now look at all this extra mats he's gonna get to use for space. But we don't get to see what ends up happening. We go to moving. Again, Surge again. Notice on that dead side, Mr. Savage's excellent rotates. We'll talk about that elimination. He just one-pumped somebody, but this is why he won DreamHack. It's the same exact thing. He's never seems to be over here. We don't know if he goes from over here and finds a way to meander over there, or he's just getting very fortunate sides. But I'm telling you, with the consistency, it's more than likely he puts himself in situations that allow these type of rotates to be possible and make it easier on him. Now, let's just go back a smidgen because we saw the elimination pickup onto Skulla. And I think he's going to get a nice little refresh. Look how huge this is. He's only basically at 200-ish mats. And he sits here and he ramp peaks and looks for an opportunity. Gets it. Look how many mats. Now, boom. Gets a full refresh of brick. He goes from about 200 to 1,000 mats. And he's solo tarping. Little scuffed mechanics there. It's okay. He hears that guy get cracked. And then harpoon. I'm telling you, the harpoon is the most important item in this season right now with a lack of mobility. It is going to be your impact fighter. It's going to be you allowed to get mats even when you don't get an elimination. Now this is scuffed. I love the decision to drop down there. All of those mats. Doesn't decide to go for it. He gets another favorable zone. Harpoon attempt right there. And then harpoon to clear a path so he can just run right through. Like I said, staying ahead is very ahead of the zone. Looking for opportunities. Pickaxe baits here. What a quick reset.
You can drag one of these core progressions in. That's cold. Yeah, we using this one. Alright, let's get to it. So we just drag it.
Apologize, guys, there was an ad. Let's continue. That reset was incredibly fast. Like I said, he's going to keep dropping low, I believe, here. Or he's going to stay in the same layer. Look at this angle right here. Good attempt. Doesn't get it. Does it eat one meat and stay in the storm and then drop? Immediately gets to the dead side possible. Now, only 2 builds. He looks up, see if there's anything he can do there. He has 7 harpoons. Let's see if it becomes a factor. Harpoons are allowing him to get through buildings quickly. Very fortunate right there to get that pickup. Just 2 cracks. He gets another harpoon with 9 uses in it. Another top 10 cracks. That side he's going to get in immediately. Try to get his mini off. Top 5 is huge. Very big crack right here. Ooh, this is so good recognition that the opponent's going to be there, as he knows he's already cracked him. Getting up and ahead. Notice again going to a dead side. Look, a dead side where no one's at. Sitting here on low ground. Viewed recognition that the opponent's right there. He harpoons the mats. He knows he can't take a lot of storm.
Oh my god, this go.
That is so good right there in that particular. He gets a top 5 basically just again, and you see the importance of a harpoon on display.
Holy, that was so good.
That's the biggest takeaway right here. If you want to do better in solo cash flips, make sure you have harpoon. Now we're going into the next game. Look at this again. Half and half. 44 individuals. Incredibly stacked. That's a free kill. Opponent was cracked. He's actually going to be very, very fortunate here. Because all that loot's going to be there and it's going to allow him to get an RPG. He's trying. Now I don't know why. He leaves the big there too. I think he also left a scar there. There was more loot to be had there. I would rather take. I was very fortunate. Opponent's there with a wide open. He gets a nice little impact. He leaves a scar again. I think he was just more focused on rotate. He does it, I believe, once I noticed in the video. He eventually does pick up a scar. Look at that clear layer switch. He noticed he was right next to somebody. It's a little minute thing, and then he went up just 1 layer. Harpoon. He would have had him, just hits if he hits the shot, but leaves it to get ahead. There's tons and tons of congestion here. So he's going to maximize his placement. It's a nice little crack right there. Leaves a scar again. Nice, gets someone that's just right underneath this tarp. He doesn't want to go down there. He knows there's a person there. That could have been disastrous. Harpoon again in port for getting mats where he doesn't have to run and go get them. And there finally, I think he's going to finally pick up the scar. There you go. Scars galore out here. But him staying ahead has allowed him to basically not get picked off in all that congestion. All this congestion works for congestion really only works for you if you're ahead. If you're the one that's breaking and replacing, going ahead, that's where it's going to work for you. If you're back behind, it's a bad thing because you're going to have to deal with people in front of you. But all this congestion is working on his favor. Make sure he piece controls. This guy has avoided death so many times. Beautiful. Let's talk about it, right? Same old, same old. Harpoon is the crux of success this season with the limited number of mobility items. If you don't take anything away from this video, take away the fact that the harpoon is literally the most important thing that you can find, carry, cherish, and use. I don't think it's even worth fishing because in these particular lack of mobility, you need harpoons to get mats, you need harpoons to get impacts. You notice his opponent's on wood ramp, immediately drops him down, gets front wall, opponent tries to jump and he goes, okay, piece control, okay. The guy's stuck there. 32. The opponent can't go anywhere. He literally owns nothing in the box. Crack misses 32, 32, and then a much better job right there of 100, and then he goes back to the open side. The opponent takes back the wall, but it's a free impact. And what I'm telling you, all possible from the Harpoon drop down. It doesn't happen without it. So you need to make sure you're carrying Harpoon. This is how you play 7 games in a solo cash cup and win the entire tournament. Getting spammed out, and now he's looking for... Ooh, gets absolutely fried. Every placement matters here in top 5 this season. So you really want to make sure that you're doing everything you can to get as closer and closer and closer. Trying to get double edits. He psychos in. Fantastic use of the RPG right there. Getting sprayed through. He decides to go back through the storm. Opponent goes into his box. He's going to try and attempt. Alright guys, there was an ad. Let's continue, but let's just talk about... He probably should have lost that. He was very fortunate that the opponent on high ground didn't have a particular ton amount of health. We don't get to see very much of his early game, but you can see the experience showing. He's in half and half end zone almost every time. His positioning has been fantastic. And you look at all these other individuals right here, this is exactly in the situation you don't want to be in. Where you're sitting, rotating in to half and half, and it's just, it looks like there's a ton of open space between you and the rest of the lobby. This guy's in storm, building out of wood. This guy's building out of metal, trying to protect himself. Looks like he runs out of mats, and Harpoon gets him a spaz if he didn't have it. Look at all these mats he's going to end up bringing in eventually. Gets a gold scar. He just refreshes on everything. And he just continues to use the mats to continue to try and get more stuff. He leaves it. Now I like the quick shield fish there. Kind of gets tagged up a little bit. Rotating through. All the Harpoon mats coming in. Like I said, Surge is going to be a part of every game. He gets right before where he is. Now he cancels this big for one reason. Why? Opponent's healing out in the open. Doesn't realize his wall isn't reset back. And that's a free impact, free mats, and he gets to save it big. He's almost in here and immediately goes to a dead side, right? And he's going to get a very fortunate pull back where it's going to allow him to save even more mats. He's going to realize pretty soon that this entire tarp that he's created back here is all his. Opponent just runs into his tarp. Cone slide, fantastic. And that's very fortunate that he controlled a lot of that, but it's a huge pickup. Now he's going to get to areas where he doesn't. He tries to get better. He gets into a nice clean layer. Look at this. They start taking looks at high ground maybe. Gets a huge fry. This is going to be a sign to go up. And he's going to basically use the Harpoon again, like I said, to keep chopping this down. So versatile. Guy's going to make a god play. He's going to fall off. He ends up dying to fall damage, but he's going to make it. Now this opponent, I don't know what he used that allowed him to yeet up that high. It was maybe the Easter egg thing. But a good play by that opponent. Basically steals it from Savage after Savage kills the high ground player. Sorry guys, there was an ad. Let's continue. Nothing he could do there. The Harpoons got him through the build and then someone psychoed in. Really unfortunately that when he took high ground, I believe he does even better in that particular game if he is able to keep high ground, but couldn't do it just because the opponent made a nice play with the Easter hop eggs. He got the opponent to die to fall damage who had RPG on height. That was just a good recognition after meme, but someone else made a good challenge. Like I said, we're back into half and half, and now look, 45 players, super stack game. He's getting stink bowed. Stays away from it. He sees this opponent right here. And he gets fried from someone else. Now notice, is he even cautious about the cone right there? He makes sure to get everything and get out quickly. He's now below Surge, so he knows that he's going to have to be aggressive on a pickup. Switches to a nice layer so we can get some visuals. He's staying nice and ahead, but I believe he's going to eventually look for a pick. Beautiful pre-fire with a pickaxe bait. Continues to go away. Switches again to a nice uncongested layer. It's fortunate that Surge, he's now 45 above. He's getting little tags here and there. 500-ish mats. This is pretty congested. Look at him masterfully maneuvering right here. Then double boxes for a lot of space. Now it's just time to look for picks. Someone on his lair. Get off my lair. He sees another person get there. He has RPG as well. One tag right there. It continues. You're going to see him more than likely drop down and play through the building. Yep. Allow him to save some mats. And he's going to box up on this brick. And Surge is gone now. So fortunate. He was never really truly worried about it. Remember, we're at towards the end of the tournament where everyone is more focused on maybe getting in W key games. He tried to drop down right there. Kind of same thing as the harpoon. Sees that opponent get cracked. Making sure he's covering his head. This is very scuffed because of the tree. He decides to just leave it and try and go ahead. He does have enough mats to make it. Sees that area is pretty blocked off. He's like, okay, I need to go to a different layer. Like, that's just such a smarter decision to just run to the side. 23 people, and look, he's kind of shambles right now, unfortunately only having 10 builds. He gets an opponent looking lost right there. Gets a good refresh of mats. With him playing low ground, it's actually kind of free on where he's at. He's claiming so much space for himself by staying ahead. Beautiful gets another nice impact as well, and now his mats are looking so much more healthy from 10 builds to around 500-ish mats. Attempts a drop down. Now, I wouldn't recommend hot bags on low ground. Notice the person's above him. Beautiful right there. Opponent kind of psychos in and just good crosshair placement. With all these extra mats, he's now going to create a lot of space in metal and get mini big off. He gets more ahead first before he worries so much about healing. With 4 individuals. And he's getting spammed out. It's going to be difficult for him to get a big. And then he creates space. Because of him getting early, he's able to heal, right? With him getting pressure from high ground right there, if he tries to heal back in the old back portion, he makes sure once he gets a little bit of shield off, he goes. See him drop. He's getting pressured. Takes another big. Misses the shot. Cracks. And fantastic. He just basically catches him. Throws him up. And he takes this RPG that has way much more ammo in it. Opponent psychos in. He gets out. Escape route like we talked about. The opponent actually cracks him for quite a bit. Opponent gets killed by someone else. Mr. Savage. Oh, he has barely any mats, and then gets second. Unbelievable stuff.
Baby. Oh my.
And he ends up winning the tournament, scoring over 200 points, getting 3 victory royales, a lot of top 5s. It's pretty much the most, in terms of a Cash Cup playing, that's how you want to play it. If he was on land, that would be beautiful. His type is, if he was like he was at DreamHack, just constantly getting top 10s, top 5s. We see the rotational knowledge. We see understanding meta. I don't have a lot of mobility, so I need a harpoon. The harpoon is what basically wins him this tournament. RPG helps a ton. Those two power. The harpoon is so versatile. It can get you into people's boxes fast for refreshes. It can give refreshes that aren't yours from far away. It can cause you to drop down opponents to get refreshes. It's the most useful thing when there's no mobility. Like I said, this is a Chapter 2, Season 1 type season where it's lots of white heals is going to be beneficial, lots of floppers, lots of meat. All that stuff is going to be helpful. Carrying a lot of whites when there isn't that much mobility, with really only peppers and eggs being the things that are currently in the game. And you see Mr. Savage use all of it throughout. But the thing that wins him the tournament, like I said, is going to be that harpoon. He used the RPG well, but I'm telling you, he doesn't last as long. He doesn't have as many mats. He doesn't get as many victory royales. He doesn't doesn't get as many impacts without that harpoon. The biggest takeaway, make sure you're using an harpoon for impacts to get mats and to get into boxes quickly and to get through congested builds quickly if you need to get out of your low mats, etc, etc. That is going to do it for today's video, guys. I hope you enjoyed today's VOD review. If you did, please drop a like on this video, hit that subscribe button, and turn on post notifications. And I hope I'll be seeing you in the next one. Peace.